The hot iron hissed as it pressed against the white silk sheet. Then suddenly, that hiss turned into a scream. "Please, Mrs. Ashley, I didn't do anything," cried Keisha, her voice trembling, her dark brown skin blistering where the iron had grazed her arm. The white woman standing over her, Ashley Reed, wife of one of Charleston's wealthiest men, didn't blink. Her blue eyes burned colder than the iron she held. "You think I don't see what you're doing?" she spat, smiling at my husband, touching his shirts, acting so innocent. Keisha shook her head, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Ma'am, please, I was only pressing them like you asked." But jealousy had already drowned reason. Ashley's hand tightened around the iron handle. The smell of scorched fabric filled the mansion bedroom. Then, the sound of a door slamming. A man's voice thundered from the hall. "Ashley, what the hell is happening here?" The billionaire himself, Ethan Reed, stood frozen in the doorway. His wife, her silk robe half undone, holding a smoking iron. His black maid on the floor, crying and clutching her burn arm. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Ethan's voice dropped, quiet, controlled, terrifying. "Put that down." Ashley's breath hitched. She stole from us." Keisha shook her head desperately. "No, sir, I swear I didn't." The iron clattered to the marble floor. The hiss faded. Ethan crossed the room in 3 strides and knelt beside the maid. His hand hovered over her arm but didn't touch. It was shaking. "You're hurt," he said softly. She tried to speak, but her voice broke. Ashley's anger turned to panic. "Ethan, she's lying. Look at her necklace. It's ours. It has the Reed crest." Ethan's gaze flicked to the small gold pendant around Keisha's neck. For a moment, the noise of the world disappeared. That pendant, that same emblem. He whispered, almost himself, "Where did you get this?" Keisha whispered, trembling, "Sir, I've had it since I was a baby. I don't know where it came from." Ethan's jaw tightened. His voice lowered. "Ashley, get out of my sight." She gasped, "What? Now?" He lifted Keisha gently from the floor, eyes locked on the pendant that shimmered under the chandelier light, as if it had waited years for him to see it again. If this already made your blood boil, hit like and subscribe right now, because stories like this are still happening and the world needs to hear them. The night dragged on like an open wound. Downstairs, the mansion had gone silent, except for the faint ticking of an antique clock and the soft whimper of pain. Keisha sat at the edge of a velvet couch, her burned arm wrapped in cold cloth. Beside her, Mrs. Ellison, the elderly housekeeper, gently applied ointment. "Hold still, baby," she whispered. "You're safe now. Just breathe." Keisha tried, but every inhale felt heavy. "I didn't do anything, Mrs. Ellison. I swear I didn't." "I know, child," the woman said softly. "But people like her, they see you and think they own your pain." At the top of the staircase, Ethan stood in silence. He'd sent Ashley to a guest room and locked the door behind her. Now, his gaze lingered on the burn marks that peeked through the bandage. His voice was low, restrained, too calm for what boiled underneath. "She could have killed you." Keisha shook her head quickly. "Please, sir, I don't want trouble. I just want to finish my work and leave quietly." He crouched in front of her, his eyes unreadable. "You shouldn't have to live afraid in this house." Her lips trembled. "Sir, people like me don't get to tell the rich how to act." For a moment, the only sound was a fire crackling in the marble hearth. Then Ethan's eyes drifted again to that same golden pendant hanging near her collarbone. He couldn't stop staring at it. "I've seen this before," he murmured. Keisha frowned. "Sir." He leaned closer, his tone softer now, more human. "That pendant, the design, the letter R in the middle, it's not just any jewelry." Her hand flew instinctively to cover it. "It was on me when they found me as a baby. I've never taken it off." Ethan's eyes darkened. Memories flickered. Fire, ashes, a little girl's laughter. He whispered, "My sister wore that same pendant before the fire." Keisha blinked, confused. "Your sister?" He didn't answer. He stood, walked to the window, and stared into the night like he was chasing ghosts through the glass. Behind him, Mrs. Ellison whispered to Keisha, "Don't be scared. Sometimes the truth just takes the long road home." Keisha lowered her head, clutching the pendant, unaware that her life and his had just begun to unravel. Morning sunlight crept through the tall mansion windows, painting pale gold over polished marble. Keisha sat quietly in the servant's kitchen, her arm freshly bandaged, her eyes swollen from a night without sleep. Every sound upstairs made her flinch. Then came the heavy footsteps. Ethan Reed appeared at the doorway, still in yesterday's shirt, sleeves rolled to the elbow. His face looked older today, like the night had carved something into it. "Keisha," he said softly. She stood instantly. "Sir, I was just—" He raised a hand. "Sit, please." She obeyed, unsure. He placed a folded linen cloth on the table. Inside it, the golden pendant she dropped during the chaos. "You left this behind." Keisha hesitated before touching it. I didn't mean to cause trouble, sir." He sat opposite her, his voice calm but heavy. "Do you know where it came from?" She shook her head. "They said it was around my neck when the orphanage found me. I've had it all my life." Ethan turned the pendant in his palm. The engraved are shimmered faintly under the morning light. He whispered, "Arthur Reed." Her brows furrowed. "Reed." He nodded slowly. "My family name. My sister wore one exactly like this. She died when I was 20. There was a fire at our lake house." Keisha's breath caught. "I'm sorry, sir." "She was 5, he said, eyes distant. "We never found her body. Just ashes and that pendant, half melted into the carpet." He looked at her again, her eyes, her jawline, the faint curl of her hair near the temple. "She would have been about your age now," he murmured. "And you hum the same tune she used to. I heard you once, in the laundry room. A little melody." Keisha frowned. "It's something I've always done. I don't even know where I learned it." Ethan's voice lowered. "My mother sang it to her every night." The air went still. Keisha's throat tightened. "Sir, what are you saying?" He leaned forward, his tone almost breaking. "I'm saying we need to know the truth." He stood abruptly, grabbed his phone, and paced. "Greg, it's Ethan. I need a private DNA test. Discreet. Today." He ended the call, turned back to her. "Don't be afraid. If I'm wrong, we'll never speak of this again. But if I'm right," Keisha whispered, "then what?" He stared at the pendant one last time. "Then you're not just a maid in this house. You're family." She froze, speechless. For the first time in her life, the weight of that pendant felt heavier, and somehow alive. If this happened right in front of you, what would you do? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. And if you want justice as much as I do, hit subscribe. 2 days later, the house was silent again, the kind of silence that only waits for truth. Ethan sat at his study, the DNA report spread open across the mahogany desk. Keisha stood a few steps away, hands trembling, afraid to breathe. He looked up slowly. "It's a match," he said. His voice was barely a whisper. "You're my sister." The words hung in the air like thunder that refused to fade. Keisha blinked, shaking her head. "No, that can't be." But his eyes said it all, glassy, exhausted, breaking. He stood and walked toward her, holding the papers. "Your blood, your DNA, it matches mine." Her knees weakened. "I don't understand." "You were found near St. Bernadette Orphanage, right?" he asked. "Yes," she whispered. "That's less than 2 miles from where the fire happened 24 years ago." He exhaled, almost at himself. "I thought I buried ashes, but I buried hope." Tears filled her eyes. "Sir, I don't know how to feel." He stepped closer, resting a trembling hand on her shoulder. "Don't call me sir, not anymore." "Then what do I call you?" He smiled weakly. "Ethan's fine, or brother, if that ever feels real." Before she could speak, the door burst open. Ashley stood there, her makeup smeared, her eyes wild. "So it's true," she hissed. "You're replacing me with her?" Ethan turned, his tone cold. "Ashley, you should leave." She laughed bitterly. "Leave? You think I'll let this girl, this maid, destroy our life? Keisha flinched. Ethan's voice sharpened. She's not a maid. She's blood. Ashley's face twisted. She's not family. Look at her. Ethan's words hit like a blade. I am... Ashley froze, realizing something inside him had changed forever. He pointed toward the door. You burned her once. You don't get another chance. Ashley's eyes filled with something between rage and regret, but she turned, slamming the door behind her. Keisha stood motionless, tears falling freely. Ethan reached out and pulled her into a quiet, trembling hug. Family lost a fire, he said softly, has finally found its way home. The next morning, the world outside the Reed mansion knew their secret. Headlines flashed across phones and TV screens. Billionaire finds lost black sister after 24 years. Reporters lined the gates, cameras ready. The story had gone viral before breakfast. Inside, Keisha sat on the couch, clutching a mug she hadn't touched. The air smelled of burnt coffee and anxiety. Ethan paced near the window, phone buzzing nonstop. They're digging now, he muttered. Old school files, orphanage records, everything. Keisha's voice shook. Are they calling me a liar? Some are, he said. Others think I'm the one lying. But truth doesn't need their permission. She looked down at her hands, the same hands that used to scrub the floor here. Yesterday I was just a maid. Now they're saying I'm a millionaire's sister. I don't even know who I am anymore. Ethan turned toward her. You're both. You survived both worlds. That makes you stronger than anyone in this house. Mrs. Ellison entered quietly, holding her phone. They're showing clips from the security camera, she said. The night it happened. Keisha froze. They saw her burn me? The housekeeper nodded softly. Ethan exhaled. Then maybe they'll finally see what hate looks like when money hides it. Keisha stood and walked to a window. Outside, flashes of light burst like small explosions. Photographers calling her name. I never wanted attention, she whispered. Ethan stepped beside her. You didn't ask for this. But maybe this is bigger than us. She looked at him. Bigger how? Every person out there who's been silenced, who's been told their truth doesn't matter, they'll see you. Keisha swallowed hard. I'm not a hero. He smiled faintly. You don't need to be. Just be visible. That night, the TV hummed softly in the background. Every channel was talking about the Reeds, the Billionaire, the Maid, the DNA test, the scandal. Ethan muted the sound. You know what they'll never understand? He said quietly. What? That this wasn't about money or headlines. It's about fire. You survived one. Now you're walking through another. Keisha closed her eyes, breathing deeply. Then I'll walk through it standing tall. He nodded, proud. Tomorrow we face them together. Her eyes met his. Not as maid and master. He smiled. As brother and sister. And for the first time, the storm outside didn't sound like chaos. It sounded like a cleansing. The grand ballroom glowed under crystal chandeliers, violins playing softly as Charleston's elite arrived one by one. The Reed Foundation annual gala, once a celebration of power, now the stage for truth. Keisha stood at the far end of the hall, wearing a sleek black gown that shimmered under the golden light. Around her neck hung the same pendant that had once branded her a thief. Now it was a proof of identity, her symbol of survival. She took a slow breath, trying to steady her heartbeat. Across the room, Ethan spoke quietly with the board members, but his eyes kept returning to her. He wasn't just proud. He looked at her like a man seeing a lost part of himself finally restored. A server whispered, Mr. Reed, the press is ready. He nodded, stepped onto the small stage, and faced the crowd. He didn't wait for silence. 24 years ago, he began, my family lost someone we thought we'd never see again. The hall fell still. My little sister vanished in a house fire. We buried ashes, but never hope. He glanced toward Keisha, his voice trembling slightly. 2 weeks ago, a woman walked into my home, a woman who'd been working here, humbly, quietly, doing her job. And because of her courage and a pendant that carried our family's mark, the truth finally came home. Gasps rippled through the audience. Ethan extended his hand. I want you all to meet Keisha Reed, my sister. Keisha hesitated, then stepped forward, her heels clicking softly on the marble. The cameras flashed. Some eyes widened, others softened. She stood beside Ethan, her chin high, her voice calm. I used to think being invisible kept me safe, she said. But silence never protects. It just hides wounds that need light. A few people started clapping, softly at first, then louder, until the whole hall echoed with applause. Ethan turned to her, pride shining through tears. You're home now, he whispered. She nodded. No, we both are. And as the applause rose around them, the gold light from the chandeliers reflected off her pendant, no longer a secret, but a crown forged from fire. The morning sun spilled over the Charleston countryside as Ethan's car rolled to a stop beside the remains of the old Reed Lake house. Time had turned it into ruins, collapsed beams, ivy crawling over blackened bricks, the air still faintly smelling of ash. Keisha stepped out slowly, the wind catching her hair. She stood on the cracked steps, staring at what used to be a home she never remembered. Ethan joined her in silence. For a long moment, they both just listened to the birds, to the soft rustle of the lake breeze, to the ghosts that once screamed through these walls. This is where it happened, he said quietly, where we lost everything. Keisha knelt and touched the earth. No, she whispered, where we survived. She brushed away the dirt, and there, half buried, was a small, rusted metal buckle. She picked it up, her voice trembling. I was here. Ethan's breath caught. You never left. You were here all along. From behind them came the sound of footsteps on gravel. They turned. An older black woman in a navy coat stood by the car, her eyes wet with recognition. Are you Ruth Johnson? Ethan asked. She nodded. Yes, I was the nurse who pulled a little girl from this fire. Keisha froze. You saved me? Ruth's voice trembled. I heard you cry. I wrapped you in a yellow blanket and ran. I didn't even know your name, only the pendant you wore. Keisha's eyes filled with tears. You gave me life twice. Ruth smiled softly. No, child. God gave you fire so you'd learn how to walk through it. Ethan stepped forward and hugged her, his voice breaking. Thank you for giving my sister back to me. Ruth whispered, You take care of her now. She's the heart of this house. Keisha turned toward the lake. The water shimmered with sunlight, calm, endless, forgiving. She took Ethan's hand. Fire took our past, but it gave us truth. I won't run from it anymore. He nodded. Neither will I. They stood there quietly, two survivors watching the reflection of a family reborn in the water. And for the first time, peace didn't feel borrowed. It felt earned. If you believe this should never happen again, share this now. And to my USA, UK, and Canadian viewers, your voice is power. Use it.